Hello, I'm Sarah. Welcome to Book Club with Yarnmugs. How are you all? I hope you're all okay. For those that are new to this book club, it's a place where I chat about the things I've been reading and listening to, or the books rather that I've been reading and listening to, and also we hopefully all read the same book as well. So the format is at the beginning I chat about the books I've listened to and read, and then do a bit of a review, and then the latter part is about the actual book club book that we've all read together, and there will be spoilers. So for anyone that hasn't read the book, when you start listening and you don't want to know details, then feel free to leave. And I'll also share what the next book club book will be. So let's get on. First of all, I want to say thank you for all your comments after the last book club. It seems like we all kind of felt similar about Case Histories by Kate Atkinson. Some of you enjoyed it, but a lot of people, felt similar. And in fact, that's quite nice, isn't it, to chat about things, even if it's not a super positive read. And it seems like you're all really enjoying book club as well. So it's kind of either encouraging you to read books that you might not have thought about reading before, and also some of you are just enjoying reading the comments and kind of listening along. So yeah, you are all welcome, however you want to kind of participate in this book club. So I'm just going to go to my little book and look at the things that I have read and listened to. And I'm also going to look at my Goodreads as well to see my reviews. So if I go to that. Now, after I last spoke to you, I think the next book I started to listen to was The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane by Lisa C. And last time I chatted about what was that? Oh, sorry about that. I listened to The Island of Sea Women by the same author, and I really enjoyed it. So I've got to say that this particular book that had been recommended by a viewer of my other podcast, it was really, really good. For my review, let me just see what I put. I listened to this on Audible. It's my second Lisa C book. I really enjoyed learning about the Chinese hill tribe community, their traditions and culture, some of which was difficult and horrific to listen to. So similarly to the Island of Sea Women, they're kind of, some of it's from real history, and it is really hard, but again it's so important to kind of be aware of. So despite the horror of listening to some difficult bits, despite this, I loved the strong female characters, descriptions of relationships, and the juxtaposition of traditions and modern life. I now want to listen to all of Lisa C's books, and also there was multiple narrators in this book, and it was, they were really brilliant. So that's how I've kind of described it in my little book as well. I've put another brilliant book, and then just to remind me, hill tribe, traditions, culture, tea, strong females, loved it. So I gave it 4 stars. So anyone that has, a few people have messaged to say that they have read Lisa C, and they're just amazing. And in fact, I've really enjoyed listening to them. And again, just because of the different kind of cultures and the words that are used and just the accents, I've really loved. I don't know whether I would be able to get that same feeling from reading it alone. So I've really loved listening. So that was The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. And then the next book I read, and it's this one here, The Favour by Nora Murphy. Now, this book was originally meant to be a book club read with my work book club, but lots of people were put off by the story, and it might be because it might be a bit close to home to sometimes what I'm exposed to at work. So at work, I am a health visitor, so I work with families with children under the age of 5, and that also includes safeguarding work, so where there are vulnerabilities and risks in the home, and domestic abuse is one of those. So for some, this might be triggering, reading this kind of subject matter. But essentially, it's about 2 women who find that they're in similar situations, and they take matters into their own hands. Now, let me have a look at my review of this. And again, I gave this 4 stars. I put, this is a story of 2 women's experiences of domestic abuse, including controlling and coercive behaviour, financial abuse and physical violence. It was uncomfortable reading at times. I just wanted to rescue the women. But the last 100 pages were the best part. I liked the detective character, but was frustrated with him taking so long to even consider domestic abuse. So yeah, I would recommend it. And again, it just kind of, you're really, your heart goes out to the women, and you just really want a good ending. But yeah, it was a really easy read. This book club, when we were going to do it in our work book club, came from Richard and Judy. They have a kind of recommended book club reads. So yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. So The Favour by Nora Murphy. Sometimes when I give books a 4-star, I suppose it sometimes then doesn't have the emotional element that I sometimes want, that kind of makes it even more powerful. So yeah, I felt that it was well written and the characters are good, and I was sucked into the story. But yeah, to get that 5-star, I just need that little bit more. And I think I gave The Tea Girl from Hummingbird Lane 4, and again, it was all fantastic. But sometimes with some books, some bits are either a bit slower, or you're kind of looking forward to the next bit, or so the 4-star is still a fantastic read, and it's one that I would then recommend. But the 5 stars for me are those absolutely, you're blown away and emotionally kind of drawn in. Okay, so Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane, and then The Favour by Nora Murphy. The next book I listened to was Devil's Breath by Jill Johnson. And again, I listened to this on Audible, and I listened to this book along with other friends who are listening or reading at the same time. Now, did I put a review for this one? Where's that? Here it is. Oh, I don't think I put a review down. I think maybe because I was waiting to see my friends for us to chat about it. But I've given myself some little pointers to remind me what the book was about. And essentially, I think it's going to be a trilogy. And it's about a woman called Eustacia, I can't remember how she pronounced it now. And her character, I imagine she is neurodiverse. She is a toxicologist, so that's how I've kind of described it, possible autistic toxicologist, and that means that's her kind of, she's a professor in that area, but she also kind of cultivates her own poisonous plants in her flat. So I'm not really describing it very well. I wonder if I should read what the book, how they describe it. Yeah, I mean, even the beginning of the book, it says here, I've always been better with plants than people. Eustacia Rose is a professor of botanical toxicology who lives alone in London with only her extensive collection of poisonous plants for company. Her life is quiet. Her schedule never changes until the day she hears a scream and the temptation to investigate proves irresistible. Through her telescope, Professor Rose is drawn into the life of an extraordinarily beautiful neighbour. So yeah, it's a bit of a murder mystery type book. It was described a little bit as a mixture between I don't know why I'm thinking this. Maybe I've read this somewhere else. A little bit like Sherlock Holmes, and I think someone put Gardener's World, but it's not about Gardener's World. But it's just that I suppose the plant matter is discussed as well at times. So listening to this on Audible, I really enjoyed it. The narrator for she does all the characters, but especially for the main character, was really well done. I felt, really kind of mimicked or really matched her her personality and her kind of her bluntness and her inability to sometimes read emotions in other people. And I really, really enjoyed it. I found it, interesting. I think it was a very simple and straightforward, easy read. And let me see, what did I give it? 3 stars, I think. I have put 4 stars. Okay, so that's the thing, isn't it? When you think back, I wasn't annoyed by it at all. I think I probably had some questions that I wanted to explore further, but maybe we might find out a bit more in the next part of the trilogy. And I've listened to a little bit of that on Audible as well, and I thought, I think I could listen to that one too. But it was, I enjoyed it. In my group, some people didn't enjoy it, but I quite liked it. So that's that one. And at the moment, I've got another one on the go, but I won't talk about that because I've not finished it. And I do like to finish them before I share them with you. Let me just make sure I've shared all the ones I think I have read and listened to. So it was Tea-Girl of Hummingbird Lane, The Favour by Nora Murphy, Devil's Breath. Oh God, I'm dropping everything today, so sorry. No, that's it. So they're the ones I've read and listened to. Let me have a sip of tea and then we'll talk about the book club book. It's actually a bit chilly today. I've got a hot water bottle to keep me warm in this room. Okay, so the book club book was this, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now, I didn't write notes for this, and it has taken me a little while to read. I didn't finish this till late last night, and in fact, I could not stop reading the last 150 pages. But for those that aren't aware of this book and want me just to give a bit of a summary, this book is about Evelyn Hugo, who's a reclusive Hollywood icon, and she is ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. And she chooses an unknown magazine reporter, Monique, to write her story. So, essentially this is her story of all of her husbands. Now, to begin with, I really was drawn in because I really kind of liked that era, that kind of Hollywood. I kept thinking of Marilyn Monroe, and just her kind of starlet persona, just what she looked like. I really kind of enjoyed that beginning part. It's also quite sad as well, as in, you kind of hear stories years ago of, what female actresses had to do to maybe get parts, whether they were kind of taken advantage of. And when you think back to the kind of Me Too movement. But Evelyn is quite a strong character. She's a really strong female, and she kind of uses her body and sexuality to get where she wants as well. I also, I was a little bit surprised how kind of easy it was to get married and then get divorced as well, especially when you're thinking about years ago. So that bit I was trying to think, would that happen? But then I know other film stars have been married lots of times, but and I suppose the underlying message in this book, and I think it was kind of, really explored quite well, was the fact that she was bisexual, and the woman that she was really in love with, who was a lesbian, the kind of challenges of jealousy that she felt towards Evelyn, in her acting roles, but not necessarily the acting roles, but the things that she did in her acting roles. I was obviously this book is full of the kind of challenges of difficult marriages as well, but mainly the marriage with Don, I think, with the domestic abuse. That's always hard to read, isn't it? But then there were particular men that kind of happily got married just because it was like a bit of a deal, wasn't it? They kind of both had an agreement that it would sort of suit both of their needs, not in an intimate way. I did enjoy it, and one of my favourite, who I kind of felt really sorry for, was Harry, one of her husbands, who was gay, and who they kind of led, it's almost like leading a double life, isn't it, in private compared to what the public know, and especially at the time when, that was not, accepted, or, you couldn't get married, obviously years and years ago if you were gay. And yeah, so it kind of really highlighted you can't imagine what that must have been like. I was a little bit shocked and surprised when she married Max, the film producer, the French film producer, because I really didn't like his character, because I really thought at first, especially that film she did where she almost, had to expose her breasts, and I thought, oh, I don't really like him. I feel like, there's an ulterior motive, and there obviously was. And also, I didn't know how I felt about that sex scene that she had to have with Don, her first husband. Even though she kind of described it as being quite empowering about women's desire, and but yeah, I just thought that I just kept imagining the filming of that, and then Celia, who she who she loved and she was in a relationship, the thought of seeing her in that film. But then also it just makes you think, just generally, it's acting. And could you cope, if your partner was acting and had to do, quite explicit, sex scenes or love scenes? But yeah, so it kind of made me think about things like that. But what I really, really loved was really the ending. I did nearly cry at the end, mainly because of Monique, when she found out that her dad died in the car crash because Harry was drink driving, and also realising that her dad was in love with another man, and kind of questioning what was, should her mum know that, and what was their relationship like. And I really love that conversation from her mum, especially describing the fact that you don't have to be in a passionate relationship to feel loved, or to love the partner that you're with. And that really touched me. I really felt like it was a really true, honest depiction of what possibly a good marriage is, or a marriage that lasts is. You can't just base it on sex, or the being in love kind of thing, but being a friend and having things in common with your partner. Yeah, so that made me feel quite emotional reading that part. So yeah, a few of you have put in messages before this video that you couldn't get on with it and you couldn't get past a few chapters, and I can understand that to an extent, because it took me a long time to read, and it did feel a little bit repetitive. It's like she was kind of getting married. It felt like she was getting married frequently, even though it was kind of a long timeline. I was really interested in the kind of films they were describing, especially when they described Little Women, things that you think, oh yeah, well I've not seen that film, but obviously I know of it. And then some of the other films, and you're thinking, are they real films? Is this about a real person, or is it just, it's fiction? So yeah, tell me, what did you think? And did you kind of like Evelyn? Because she kind of even describes herself, doesn't she, when she was talking to Monique, that, I'm not a good person, or I'm a bad person, or I've done things to get what I need. And but I also quite like the fact that she was quite inspiring to Monique, especially with Monique's story and her kind of marriage, where she wasn't necessarily happy. Yeah, and I felt she was quite an inspiring role model. So tell me what you think. It obviously has lots of good reviews on Goodreads, but equally it has lots of reviews that are about a 1-star or a 2-star. But I'm really glad I read it, and I'm really glad I was really kind of happy with the ending as well. Like I say, sad in parts and makes you think, kind of take it for granted, but for people that are not considered, who aren't heterosexual, what must that have been like, especially when you've got a public persona of being either a heartthrob or you know, how Evelyn was viewed as being a bit of a sex symbol, you know, even though that's a horrible phrase to, or a horrible kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Labelling, you know, we're not, women aren't there just to be sex symbols. She was an actress, you know, so yeah, it definitely made me think about, you know, lots of different things like that. So yeah, let me know in the comments, what did you think? But yeah, I'm glad I read it, and I would recommend it to others, and I probably would give this four stars. 3 stars for me, it feels like it was all right, but I did really like parts of it. I was really wanting to know, especially the whole thing with Monique, because it says it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways, and you were really kind of leading up to that point where you were going to find out, well, what is it? What is the connection? So yeah, 4 stars for me. Okay, so let's think about or talk about the next book club book. And I've kind of discussed a few books in the last few videos, but what I'm getting from lots of your comments is that you'd like to read this, or some have read it and would like to reread it. So I'm really keen to have this as the next book club book, Daphne Du Maurier's Jamaica Inn. I've read Rebecca and I absolutely loved that. So this book is described as her mother's dying request takes Mary on a sad journey across the bleak moorland of Cornwall to reach Jamaica Inn, the home of her aunt, Patience. With the coachman's warning echoing in her memory, Mary arrives at a dismal place to find Patience, a changed woman, cowering from her overbearing husband, Joss. Affected by the inn's brooding power, Mary is thwarted in her intention to reform her aunt and unwillingly drawn into the dark deeds of Joss and his accomplices. And as she struggles with events beyond her control, Mary is further thrown by her feelings for a man she dare not trust. Yeah, I really want to read that. So this is going to be the next book club book, and we will do the next book club video. Let's just get my diary up or calendar up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, should we do it in 4 weeks' time? Yeah, let's do it on the 6th of December. So we'll discuss this book 6th of December. Lovely. And I also just wanted to share 2 more books, even though I shared 2 last time, even if, you know, it's just to give me some ideas of which you're kind of preferring. I've recently got these books from a friend. I know they're fairly old books, but I've wanted to read them for a while. One of them is The Salt Path, and the other is Where the Crawdads Sing. And I know there was loads of kind of, praise for this book, and I've heard good comments about this. I don't really know what either of them are about, but I want to read both of them. Have you heard of these? I don't know if you want me to read the back. I know this one, I read this morning, and it sounds quite emotional. So it says, just days after Raynor learned that Moth, her husband of 32 years, was terminally ill, they lost their home and their livelihood. With nothing left and little time, they impulsively decide to walk the 630-mile southwest coast path from Somerset to Dorset via Devon and Cornwall. Living wild and free at the mercy of sea and sky, they discovered a new liberating existence. But what would they find at the journey's end? So yeah, I think this is going to be a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but I imagine it's going to be full of detail about the scenery and the place. So I love that kind of thing. So that's that one. And then Where the Crawdads Sing, it says, for years, rumours of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barclay Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be loved, when 2 young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty. Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. Oh, yeah, I'd like to read that too. So just give me some some feedback, because eventually I'm probably going to read all of them, but it's just I wonder which one we should read after Jamaica Inn. So we've got this one, we've got The Salt Path, and last time I shared 2 other books that you all seem quite keen on. Oh, lovely. So thank you for joining me. Thanks for joining in if you have read the book, and don't worry if you haven't, or don't worry if you don't feel the same. Doesn't matter. It's more just about sharing your thoughts and views, reading the comments, seeing what other people felt. But I will see you on the 6th, what do we say? The 6th of December. Because I think that this won't... Oh, it is a hefty size. What is it? About 300 pages. You should be able to get that read in the month. So yeah, hope you're all okay, and I'll see you soon.